The marketplace was alive with noise. Shouts of merchants, clinking of coins, growls of strange beasts. It was a place where everything could be bought and sold. Lights flickered above rows of cages. Inside them, creatures from many worlds sat. In silence, waiting for their price to be called. Men and aliens walked past without care. They laughed, they bargained, they argued about money. To them, the cries of the chained were nothing but background noise. Pain was normal here. Suffering was just another sound in the air. But then there was a voice. It was faint, weak, almost drowned by the market. Yet it carried something different. A desperate cry that rose above the chaos. A voice that spoke not in alien tones, but in broken human words. "Help me, please, someone." The voice belonged to a girl. Only one man stopped. He was tall, wrapped in a dark travel coat, and his face was half hidden beneath the hood. He had been moving quietly through the market, not wishing to be noticed. Like all humans who traveled so far from Earth, he knew the danger of standing out. Humans were not strong, not rich, not feared. They were often ignored in places like this, and perhaps that was why he had survived so long. But this voice, this strange, fragile voice, pulled him from the shadows. His heart beat faster. His mind whispered, "Did she just speak my language?" He turned his head slowly, trying not to draw attention. His eyes searched through rows of cages until they found her. The girl was not fully human. Her skin glowed faintly, like silver touched by moonlight. Her hair fell in tangled strands over her face. Heavy chains bound her wrists and ankles, cutting deep into her skin. Her eyes, wide and desperate, locked onto his dot. She spoke again, softer this time. "Please, help me." The man froze. Around him, the market moved as usual. No one else had heard, or if they had, they did not care. But he could not turn away. He took a step closer. His boots echoed against the metal floor, each step sounding louder in his own ears. He felt as if the whole crowd could see his thoughts, could sense the danger of what he was about to do. The girl gripped the bars of her cage. Her hands trembled. Her lips formed words that only he could understand. "They will kill me, please. Only you hear me." The man's chest tightened. He wanted to ask questions. "Who are you? How can you speak human words?" But he knew this was not the place. Questions were dangerous. Answers were even more so still. He could not walk away. Memories flashed in his mind. He remembered stories from Earth-old myths of travelers who heard voices in the dark. Voices that promised truth or death or destiny. Most men ignored them. The wise ones kept walking, but he was not sure if he could. The girl's eyes shone like light through broken glass. They were not the eyes of a stranger. They carried something familiar, something almost human. He stepped even closer, his shadow falling across her cage. "Why me?" he whispered, almost too soft to hear. The girl's lips shook as she answered, "Because you are the only one who listens." A cold shiver ran through him. He looked around quickly. Guards stood at the edges of the market, tall and armed, their eyes sharp as knives. They were watching for trouble. If he spoke too long to the girl, if they suspected he cared, they would notice. The man turned, as if to walk away. His hood hid his face, but his eyes burned with thought. His feet wanted to leave. His heart wanted to stay. He heard her voice again, softer, broken, almost like a dying flame. "Please, do not leave me." He stopped. The noise of the market faded from his mind. The laughter, the bargaining, the growls, it all fell silent. All he could hear was her voice, and in that moment, he knew something. He could not leave her. For reasons he did not fully understand, this girl mattered. Her chains, her voice, her pain, it was all calling to him. calling like destiny. The man clenched his fists. His pulse raced. He felt the weight of every eye in the market, though most had not noticed him yet. One wrong move, and he would be hunted. One wrong word, and his life would end. But the choice had already been made inside his heart. He looked at her one last time. She stared back, hope trembling in her eyes. And in the silence between them, a bond was formed. The human traveler whispered under his breath, words only for himself, "If no one else will answer, then I will." The girl's eyes widened. Her lips curved into the faintest trace of hope. And so, in the heart of the dark marketplace, where thousands walked past without care, one human heard the cry of a chained alien girl, and he did not walk away. The man stood near the cage, his heart heavy. He had heard many cries in his life. Out here, far from Earth, sorrow was common, but this was different. This girl's voice carried something deeper, something that reached inside him. She sat on the floor of the cage, her back against the cold metal bars. The chains around her wrists and ankles looked too heavy for her thin body. The iron links cut her skin, leaving red marks that glowed faintly under the strange light of her skin. Her face was pale, almost silver, and her eyes, they were not like other aliens. They were wide, filled with fear, but also with something else. Trust. Trust in him, a man she had never met. The human crouched low, pretending to look at the cage as if he were a buyer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Who are you?" The girl's lips trembled. She struggled to form words. I do not know what name they gave me, but once I was free." Her voice cracked, and tears rolled down her cheeks. The man clenched his fists. Around them, merchants shouted, buyers argued, and guards laughed. None of them cared. To them, she was just a thing for sale. But to him, she was alive. "Why can you speak my language?" he asked, still whispering. Her eyes locked onto his. "Because I was taught to call for help, only from humans. I called and called, but no one came. No one, until you." The words cut into his chest like a blade. He thought of Earth, far away. He thought of all the humans who had left this galaxy to chase power, trade, and war. None had answered her cries. He was the only one. The girl pulled at her chains, the sound sharp and painful. "They will kill me, or worse. Please, you must not leave me here." The man looked around. He could feel eyes on his back. If he stayed too long, the guards would grow suspicious. But how could he walk away? He leaned closer, his voice a sharp whisper. "Why do they keep you chained like this?" The girl shivered. "Because I am dangerous to them. Not with strength, but with knowledge. I know things they fear. That is why they will never let me go." Her glow flickered like a candle in the wind. She seemed weaker with every breath. The man's mind raced. He had survived many battles, many escapes, but this was different. Saving her meant breaking every rule he had lived by. It meant putting a target on his back. Yet, as he stared at her trembling form, he knew there was no turning away. The girl reached out, her chained hands slipping through the bars. Her fingers were thin, shaking. "You are human," she whispered. "Humans protect." "That is what they told me. Please, prove them right." The man's throat tightened. He remembered his father's words from long ago. A man's worth is not measured by what he gains, but by what he saves. He touched her hand, just for a moment. Warmth passed between them, fragile and desperate. A guard shouted nearby, and the man pulled his hand back quickly. The girl shrank into the shadows of her cage, her breath sharp with fear. The human rose to his feet, adjusting his hood. He could not free her now, not in front of everyone. But he knew he had made his choice. He gave her one last look, his eyes steady, his jaw tight. She looked back with hope trembling in her tears. The chains rattled as she whispered, almost too soft to hear, "Do not forget me." The man turned and walked away, his mind racing. To the crowd, he looked like any other traveler. But inside, fire burned. He could still hear her words echoing in his head. He had seen many cages before, but never had one held a voice that spoke to his soul. As he stepped deeper into the market, he made a silent promise. He would return. He would find a way. For in that moment, she was no longer just a chained alien girl. She was a secret, a mystery, a cry that only one human could answer, and he would not leave her to die. The human traveler returned to the market the next day. He had spent the night restless, unable to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the girl's voice. "Please, do not forget me." He had tried to push the memory away. He had told himself she was not his problem, but deep inside, he knew he could not ignore her. He was the only one who heard her cries. If he walked away, no one else would come. The marketplace was as loud as before. Merchants shouted prices. Guards barked orders. Buyers argued over slaves and weapons. It was chaos, but in that chaos, he saw her cage again. The girl was still there. Chains still cut her wrists. Her glow was dimmer now, weaker. Yet when her eyes found him, a spark of hope lit inside them. He walked closer, pretending once more to be just another buyer. His voice was calm, but his heart pounded like a war drum. "I said I would not forget," he whispered through the war. He whispered through the bars. Her lips trembled. "Then you will help me." He nodded. The girl's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, her voice was steady. "I knew you would come." The human straightened and turned to the nearest guard, a tall creature with thick armor and yellow eyes. "I want that one," he said, pointing to the girl. The guard laughed. "Sharp and cruel. That one. Worthless. Weak, a broken toy. You. Waste your credits, human." The man forced a cold smile. "Maybe I like broken things." The guard sneered but waved him forward. The human pulled a pouch of credits from his coat. His hands shook slightly as he passed it over. But the moment the guard leaned to count the coins, the man moved. His hand darted to the lock. In one swift motion, he slid a hidden tool into the mechanism. The girl's eyes widened. Click! The lock snapped open. The guard looked up, confused. Then his face twisted with rage. "Thief!" he bellowed. Alarms screamed across the market. Red lights flashed. Overhead, the girl gasped as the human yanked the cage door wide and pulled her out. Chains clattered as she stumbled forward, her legs weak from days in the cage. "Run!" he shouted. The crowd erupted in chaos. Buyers pushed back. Merchants cursed guards. Rushed in with weapons raised. The human shoved through them, dragging the girl with him. Blaster fire lit the air. Sparks exploded from metal walls. The girl cried out as her chains slowed her steps. "I cannot. You can." He barked, pulling her along. "Stay with me." They darted into a narrow passage between stalls. The smell of smoke and oil burned their lungs. Shouts echoed behind them, angry voices, heavy boots. The hunters were close. The girl tripped, falling to her knees. The human spun, lifting her back up. Her skin glowed brighter now, fear making her light shine. "Leave me," she gasped. "They will kill you because of me." The man's eyes burned with fire. "If I leave you, I leave myself. Now move." Together, they pushed forward. The passage opened into a dark tunnel that led away from the market. The human had walked it before, long ago, as a smuggler's path. Now it was their only chance. Blaster bolts tore through the air as guards fired from behind. Metals sparked. Walls shook. The girl screamed, and the man pulled her close, shielding her with his body. Pain seared his arm as a bolt grazed him. He gritted his teeth but did not slow down. Step by step, they ran deeper into the tunnel. Their breaths came ragged, their hearts thundered. Chains rattled with every movement, the sound echoing like a bell of doom. Finally, they reached a heavy door at the tunnel's end. The human slammed his shoulder against it. It groaned but held firm. He hit it again, harder, while the girl pressed her chained hands against the cold metal. "Please," she whispered, tears streaming. "Open, open." With one last strike, the door burst free. They stumbled through into the night. Cool air hit their faces, sharp with the smell of rain and metal. Stars glimmered above, cold and distant. The human pulled the door shut behind them. For a moment, there was silence. No guards, no alarms. Only the sound of their heavy breathing. The girl collapsed against him, her chains heavy across his lap. Her voice shook. You chose me." The man looked down at her, his chest still heaving. "I made my choice yesterday. Today, I acted on it." Her glowing eyes stared into his. In that fragile silence, she whispered, "Then I am yours, until the end." But their peace was short. In the distance, the howl of hunters rose. The chase was not over. The human tightened his grip on her arm, helping her to stand. His voice was calm but hard. "Then we run. Together." And with the stars watching, the human and the chained girl vanished into the night, hunted by an entire market that now wanted them dead. The tunnel behind them still echoed with shouts and alarms. The human traveler knew the silence outside would not last long. Guards were already hunting. He could almost feel their footsteps pressing closer. He gripped the girl's chained arm and pulled her into the night. The city spread before them, a maze of steel towers, narrow bridges, and endless neon lights. The marketplace was only one part of this world, but its hunters controlled the streets. The girl's legs trembled with every step. Her body was weak, her chains heavy. She stumbled, falling against him. I cannot run fast enough." The man caught her before she hit the ground. His jaw tightened. "Then lean on me, but we do not stop." Together, they moved through the shadows of the street. Vendors shouted, crowds bustled. Strange smells burning fuel, roasted meat, wet stone filled the air. To the crowd, they were just two more faces in the chaos. But the man knew it was only a matter of time before the hunters spread their net. Behind them, a sharp sound cut through the noise, metal boots striking the ground in perfect rhythm. The guards were close. The human pulled the girl down a side street. They wove through piles of broken machines and stacks of crates. His eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. He knew the city well enough to survive, but tonight was different. He was not alone. The girl gasped, clutching her chest. Her glow was brighter now, like a lantern under her skin. She could not hide it. Anyone who looked too closely would know. She was the escaped slave. "Dim your light," the man whispered sharply. Her voice broke. I cannot. Fear makes it stronger." The man cursed under his breath. He pulled her hood up, hiding her face as best as he could. Then he dragged her into a crowded alley where a group of workers carried heavy pipes. For a moment, they blended in. But the hunters were clever. A blast tore through the air. One of the pipes exploded in sparks, throwing workers to the ground. Screams filled the alley as guards stormed in, weapons ready. "Run!" the man shouted. They pushed through. The terrified crowd. The girl stumbled, chains dragging, but the man pulled her with all his strength. A guard spotted them and fired. The shot missed by inches, burning the wall beside them. The man spun, drew a small blaster from his coat, and fired back. His shot struck the guard's shoulder, sending him crashing into a stall. The girl gasped, eyes wide. "You fight for me?" The man's face was hard. "No, I fight because it is the only way we live." They ran again, weaving through smoke and broken stalls. The sounds of pursuit grew louder. The guards were calling for reinforcements. Soon, the whole sector would be locked down. The girl's chains clattered with every step. She tripped again, falling hard. The man turned, grabbing her arm. Blood trickled from her knee where the metal had cut her. "Leave me," she whispered, tears shining in her eyes. "I will only slow you." The man stared at her, his face set like stone. "If I leave you, I leave my own humanity. I will not." He lifted her, carrying her against his side as he pushed forward. The girl buried her face against his shoulder, her glow flickering like a heartbeat. They burst into another street wider, louder, filled with merchants and neon signs. The guards were behind them now, pushing through the crowd with weapons raised. The human traveler scanned the street. Ahead, he saw a transport lift rising slowly toward the upper levels. It was their only chance. He shoved through the crowd, dragging the girl toward the lift. A guard fired again, the shot grazing his coat. People screamed, scattering in every direction. The girl clung to him, her voice shaking. "Why do you risk everything?" His answer was simple, his voice steady even in the chaos, because no one else would. They reached the lift, just as its doors were closing. The man shoved the girl inside, then turned and fired 3 quick shots at the guards. 2 fell back, the third ducked for cover. The man leaped inside, slamming the panel. The doors sealed and the lift rose. Through the glass walls, he saw the city fall away beneath them, streets glowing with fire and light. Guards running like ants, alarms echoing through the towers. The girl pressed her chained hands against the glass, watching in awe and fear. "They will not stop hunting us." The man leaned against the wall, his chest heaving, blood dripping from his wounded arm. His eyes were dark, but his voice carried a fire. "Then we do not stop running." The girl turned to him. Her eyes glowed brighter, not just with fear, but with something new, something like trust. For the first time since she had spoken her desperate cry, she believed, and high above the marketplace, in a stolen moment of escape, one human and one chained alien girl prepared to face a galaxy that wanted them both dead. The lift carried them higher and higher above the city. Neon lights blurred beneath them, and the noise of the market faded into distant echoes. But the man knew it was only a matter of time before the hunters found them again. The girl sat against the wall of the lift, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Her glow still pulsed faintly, soft but impossible to hide. Chains rattled each time she moved, a sound sharp in the silent cabin. The man tore a strip of cloth from his coat and wrapped it tightly around his bleeding arm, his jaw clenched. But he made no sound. Pain was nothing new to him. The girl watched him quietly. Eyes shone with something more than fear now. She whispered, "You are hurt. Because of me." He shook his head. "I am hurt because I chose, and I would choose again." Her lips parted as if to argue, but then closed. She lowered her gaze to the chains around her wrists. The skin beneath was raw, red, and glowing faintly, as if the metal itself drank from her strength. "Why do they chain you so heavily?" The man asked. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "What are you to them?" The girl trembled. For a moment, she did not answer. Her fingers brushed the chains, and a small spark of light ran along the links before fading. "They fear me," she whispered at last. "Not because I am strong, but because of what I carry." The man leaned closer. "What do you carry?" Her glowing eyes lifted to meet his. A map, hidden inside me. Not on paper, not on stone. It was placed. In my mind, burned into my blood. It cannot be erased. It cannot be stolen. That is why they want me chained. That is why they will never stop hunting. The man's breath caught. A map. Not just any map, he realized, but one valuable enough to make her worth more than gold. More than life. Where does it lead? He asked quietly. Her voice shook. To a place they fear. A place they wish to destroy. But it is also a place that could save others. My people, maybe even yours. She pressed her chained hands against her chest. I was told to run, to call for help, to wait for a human. Only a human could protect me. I called for so long, none came. Until you? The man looked away, his chest heavy. He remembered her first words, her desperate cry that no one else had heard. He wondered if fate had led him here, or if it was just chance. Either way, he could no longer step back. He studied the glow in her skin, the flicker of light in her eyes. So this is why they fear you. Not because of who you are, but because of what you hold. The girl nodded. And now, because you helped me, they will fear you too. He gave a faint smile, though his eyes were hard. I am used to being feared. It keeps me alive. But inside, his thoughts raced. A secret map inside her blood. A map that could change the fate of worlds. He had wanted only to free her from chains, but now he saw the weight of what he had done. By saving her, he had stepped into something far greater. The lift slowed as it reached the upper levels. The city stretched out before them, towers, like jagged teeth, skyships drifting through the clouds, neon signs burning against the darkness. It was a place of shadows and eyes. Nowhere was safe. The girl looked out at the towers, her glow reflected in the glass. You could still leave me. She whispered, if you do, they will hunt only me. You might live. The man pulled his hood lower over his face. His voice was steady. If I leave you, I live as a coward. That is not living. Her eyes widened, shining with tears. For the first time, her voice carried a hint of hope. Then you will not abandon me. He met her gaze. I told you before. If no one else will answer, then I will. The lift doors opened with a hiss. Cold wind swept in, carrying the smell of smoke and iron. The upper platform stretched into the distance, crowded with strangers, machines, and hidden dangers. Somewhere out there, hunters were already searching. The girl's chains rattled as she rose to her feet. She was weak, but she stood taller now. As if the weight of her secret also gave her strength. The man stepped beside her, scanning the shadows. His hand rested on the blaster at his side. We move quickly. Trust no one. Speak to no one. And, whatever happens, stay close. The girl nodded. Her glowing eyes never left his. I will stay. You are the only one who came. Together, they stepped into the storm of the city. The hunters would not stop. The girl's secret would not stay hidden. But for now, one human and one chained girl carried something far greater than themselves' hope. Danger, and a map that could change everything. And the galaxy had just begun to notice. The upper platforms of the city stretched like steel bridges across the night sky. Ships hummed overhead, their engines glowing like burning stars. Crowds moved in every direction, faces hidden by hoods and masks. The human traveler kept his hood low, guiding the chained girl through the shadows. Her glow flickered under the fabric, and he kept one hand on her arm, trying to hide it. But hiding her light was like hiding fire in the dark. It always found a way to shine through. The girl whispered, "They will find us, no matter where we run." His eyes scanned the crowd, sharp and restless. Then we run faster than they expect. But deep inside, he knew she was right. Word of their escape would already be spreading. The market was not just a place, it was a network. Every merchant, every hunter, every thief owed loyalty to someone greater. And that someone would now know a human had stolen their most valuable prisoner. The chase would not end in one city. It would stretch across worlds. As they slipped into a side alley, the human spotted a group of mercenaries. Their armor was dark, marked with the crest of a crimson claw. Bounty hunters. The girl gripped his sleeve tightly, fear glowing in her eyes. They are here already. He nodded. The net is closing. One of the mercenaries raised a device to his mouth. Target confirmed. The girl glows. The human is with her. The man cursed under his breath. Without hesitation, he pulled the girl into a narrow passage. The mercenaries followed, weapons drawn. Blaster fire lit the dark. Sparks rained from the walls. The girl cried out as the chains dragged her down. The man fired back, his shots quick and precise. 2 mercenaries fell, but more rushed in. Go, he shouted, pushing her forward. Do not stop. Her voice shook. I cannot. I will only slow you. He grabbed her arm, dragging her with him. Then slow me, but we moved together. They burst from the passage onto a loading deck. Massive. Cargo ships loomed above, their engines roaring as workers loaded crates. The human's eyes darted across the deck. Too many people. Too many eyes. The girl stumbled again, her glow brighter now, almost pulsing. The mercenaries shouted behind them. One lifted a scanner, and its screen flared red. She is lighting the way. The human muttered. The girl's voice cracked. I cannot stop it. The map inside MIT is waking. For a moment, he froze. He realized her glow was not only fear, 'twas the secret inside her, pressing to be revealed. If it grew stronger, the entire city would see her light. Then we need cover, he said. His eyes scanned the deck until he spotted a cargo hauler rising on a lift, crates stacked high. Without thinking, he pulled her toward it. Workers shouted in protest, but he shoved past them, dragging the girl onto the platform. The lift rose, carrying them into the shadows between the giant ships below. The mercenaries cursed and fired. Upward, bolts struck crates, splitting them open, spilling strange glowing dust across the deck. Workers screamed, chaos spreading like fire. The girl clung to him, her voice trembling. They will not stop, will they? He met her gaze, his own eyes cold. No, they will not stop until one of us is dead. Her glow flickered, softer now, as if her fear was mixing with something else. Trust. She whispered, then we must. Live, the lift reached the top of the cargo stacks. The man pulled her into the shadows between the containers, crouching low. They were safe for the moment, hidden from sight. But in the distance, he saw the truth of her words. On the horizon, dozens of lights flickered, hunter ships rising from the city, spreading like a swarm of predators. Signals flashed across the sky, messages carrying to other worlds. The chase had begun. The girl watched the ships with wide eyes. Because of me, they will come for you too. The whole galaxy will hunt us. The man's hand rested on his blaster. His jaw was tight, but his voice was steady. Let them come. I have run from worse. I will run again. She shook her head. No, this is bigger than running. You do not understand. The map inside me. It does not lead to treasure. It does not lead to power. It leads to something they fear more than both. He turned to her sharply. What does it lead to? Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice almost a whisper carried by the wind. Hope. The word struck him harder than any blaster. Hope was dangerous. Hope was what tyrants feared most. The man stared at her, and in her trembling form he saw not weakness, but fire. The galaxy might call her a prisoner, but he knew now she was a key that could either save or destroy everything far above them. The hunter ship spread across the stars. The chase had widened. The net was closing. But the human's resolve only hardened. He had made his choice the moment he opened her cage, and no matter how far the hunt stretched, he would not let go. The night sky was alive with fire. Hunter ships roared overhead, their searchlights cutting through the darkness like blades. The city below shook with alarms and screams. Every shadow seemed to carry danger. The human traveler stood at the edge of a steel platform high above the city. The chained girl crouched beside him, her glow pulsing brighter than ever. Her light spilled across the metal, impossible to hide. "They are close," she whispered. Her voice trembled, but her eyes held steady. The man scanned the horizon. Dozens of hunter ships circled, tightening their grip. Boots clanged on nearby walkways as mercenaries closed in. There was nowhere left to run. The girl touched his arm, her chained hands trembling. "You should leave me. They capture me, maybe they will let you live." He turned, his face hidden under his hood, but his voice was sharp and certain. "If I leave you, I stop being human. Do you understand? Humanity is not about blood. It is about choice, and I choose to stand." The girl's eyes filled with tears. For so long she had called into the dark, begging for help. Now, for the first time, someone had answered. The hunters came into view. Dark armor, glowing visors, weapons ready. They spread across the platform, surrounding the human and the girl like wolves circling prey. One of the mercenaries stepped forward. His voice was cold and metallic. "Hand over the girl, human. You cannot fight us all." The man's hand rested on his blaster. His heart pounded, but his voice was calm. "Maybe not. But I can make you bleed." The mercenary laughed. "Are only one man." The human's gaze hardened. "Sometimes one is enough." He drew his blaster in a flash of light. The first shot dropped a hunter where he stood. The others opened fire, bolts tearing through the night. The girl screamed, chains rattling as she pressed against the wall. The man moved like shadow and fire. He ducked behind cover, his shots precise, every pull of the trigger burning through. The enemy line sparks rained, metal cracked. The air filled with smoke. But for every hunter he struck down, two more appeared. The girl cried out, "You cannot hold them all." He gritted his teeth. "I do not need to hold them. I only need to buy us time." Her glow flared brighter, spilling across the platform. The hunters faltered for a moment, shielding their eyes. Her light was no longer fire, it was power awakening. The girl gasped, clutching her chest. "The map, it is opening. The path is revealing itself." The human glanced at her. Her skin shone like a star, her chains glowing white, hot as if they could no longer contain her. The mercenaries shouted in panic, "Contain her, before it spreads." But the human stepped in front of her, his blaster raised, his body a shield. "You will not touch her," he growled. He fought with fury, his shots striking true. His movements quick as lightning. Pain burned through his wounded arm, but he did not slow. Every second he stood, every enemy he stopped, gave her more time. The girl's chains began to crack. Sparks of light spilled from them, brighter and brighter, until finally shut her. The chains broke, falling in molten pieces at her feet. She rose slowly, her body glowing like dawn breaking over a dark world. Her eyes blazed, no longer filled with fear, but with power. The hunters froze. For the first time, they looked uncertain. The girl stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "I was chained so you could keep the map hidden, but now it is free. And with it, so am I." Her glow spread across the platform, spilling into the sky. Lines of light formed in the air shapes, symbols, stars connected into a map. The hunters gasped as the secret they had tried to bury lit up the heavens. The man turned, staring in awe. So this is what they feared. The girl nodded, her glowing eyes meeting his. Hope, a path to freedom, a place they could never destroy. The hunters fired in panic, but their shots dissolved in the light. The girl lifted her chained hands, now free, and the glow shielded them both. The man lowered his weapon slowly. His body shook with exhaustion, but his spirit burned stronger than ever. He looked at her and whispered, "You are not alone anymore." She reached for his hand, their fingers meeting in the blaze of light. "And you are not forgotten. You came when no one else did. You are the only one who answered." The platform shook as more hunter ships closed in, their engines screaming. The fight was not over. The galaxy would not stop hunting them, but now they were no longer running in the dark. They carried light. They carried hope. The human traveler lifted his blaster once more. Standing tall beside the girl who had once been chained, "Then let them come," he said. His voice was steady, unshaken. "I will not fail you." And with the stars burning above and the galaxy closing in, one human and one freed girl stood together, ready to fight not just for survival, but for something greater, for hope.